Hey friends, this is Carrie and welcome back to I Like Reddit channel. Today we have 4 stories out of the Entitled Parent subreddit. Let's begin. Our first story is by Black Panda 22. Entitled Aunt believes she can dictate legal documents for my mother's dying wishes. My mother has terminal cancer, and due to financial constraints, she decided to move in with me and my family. As soon as my mother arrived here, we visited my lawyer and began and completed her final will and power of attorney. She does not want life support and has a DNR, or do not resuscitate. My aunt, my mom's sister, decided to call me and things got interesting. This is how it went. Aunt:
Hi, LP. I wanted to see how your mother is doing because she doesn't tell me anything.
Me: she's the same as always. Aunt:
Well, have you two discussed her dying wishes?
Me: yes, it's all taken care of. What is it you need? Aunt:
Well, when the time comes, can you call me so that I can get on a flight and be there with her as she passes?
When the time comes, I will notify everyone. Aunt:
Okay, well, make sure you do everything you can so I can be there with her.
Me: what do you mean? Like life support? She has a DNR and doesn't want that, but as soon as it's close, I will make phone calls. Hopefully, everyone can make it. Aunt:
I don't think you understand me. If she is passing, you will need to put her on life support so I can be there with her. You are a POA, and once she is in that state, she won't know the difference.
Me, dumbfounded by what she just said. No, that's not how it works. It's already on file with the hospital and doctors, signed and legalized. Even if I wanted to, I can't. Aunt: you're so selfish. Me: I'm pretty sure you don't understand how this works, but it's okay. We will talk when it comes close to that time. Aunt: you are the most selfish, arrogant human I've ever met. You have no idea how much I'm suffering. Me: you aren't suffering. You need to stop. My mother has terminal cancer. She's living in a constant state of pain. You live in your house, which is paid off, with one of your sons and his girlfriend and their 3 children. You were using my mother's home as your home. You took her benefits for food and used it for yourself and your family. You drove her car for 2 years and never paid for anything. It doesn't matter if I could pay her property taxes and bills. She wanted to come here and be with me and my family. She wanted to have a closer bond with her grandchildren before she dies. She chooses how she dies and where to be buried. Why are you calling me anyway? Aunt:
I'm recording this conversation and we'll use it as proof that you're trying to kill her for insurance money. The fact you won't keep her alive is murder!
I hung up on her before she went full crazy like always. I had her on speakerphone the entire time and my mom listened to the entire conversation. My mother is in shock and began crying because my mother and I always had a rough relationship due to my aunt always lying about me. This is where it gets good. My aunt calls my mother sobbing, I mean sobbing, and begins telling her all types of lies about the conversation. My mother quietly listened to the blatant lies and ended the conversation just like this. Aunt's name: I was listening the whole time. OP had you on speaker. I know everything. It's a shame that you caused so much destruction between my only child and I for so long. I'm glad that at the end of this all, he still took me in. I have done so much for you, and now I see it's just jealousy because it wasn't all about you. When I die, I don't want you to come to his home. You can be at the burial in Mexico, but do not come here. He doesn't want you here, and he is too kind and empathetic to my disease to tell you no. But I am going to say no. I'm sorry that this will be our last conversation we will ever have. My mom hung up and blocked her number. The greatest part of it all, my mom said all of this to her while drinking her morning coffee and eating her toast without missing a beat. Wow, that's rough. Sorry for OP and his mom. I mean, this just really sucks. The cancer and all of that stuff ending her life, but at least she gets to leave on her own terms. It's sad that her sister would rather cause drama and heartache than spending the last few times getting to talk to her sister, and it's just sad. Anyway, on to our next story. Our next story is by Dr. Gamer.
You don't need that wheelchair.
I honestly never thought I would have a story for y'all, but let me tell you. So I work at Michael's craft store. Most of the people that go through there are kids for projects and old ladies. We rarely have problems that involve coupons. The cast: EM, entitled mother; EK, entitled kid; IK, innocent kid. So we have a young, I'd say 15 to 16 year old who comes in very often that has crutches because he has legs that are messed up. When he comes in, he uses a wheelchair we have so that he can rest a bit. He's unusual. so we recognize him easily. He comes in, we keep his crutches behind the counter so they're safe. Today we had an EM come in. Everyone who works there knows she's one of the worst customers we have. One time she literally threatened to punch me over the counter over a coupon. She had been in the store for a few minutes and I saw IK walk in. A few minutes later I hear IK yell in pain and something hitting a shelf. I book it from the counter to see what had happened, and all I see is EK in the wheelchair and EM standing over a bleeding IK. As soon as she saw me, she had her kid get out of the wheelchair and kick in the seat and threw it against the wall. I didn't even need to ask what happened. I called my manager over as well as security from the store. We looked back over the tapes and we see EM walking up to IK and saying something. EM starts getting visibly angry, eventually picking him up and literally throwing him into the shelf so that her kid can play in the wheelchair. I spoke to IK after and he said that she asked if her kid could play with the wheelchair for a second, very rudely I might add, and he of course said no, as he needed it to get around. He could stand up and grab something, but that was about it. She told him he didn't need the wheelchair and that he was faking it for attention, and then the events followed. She was arrested for assault on a minor and destruction of property. I never thought I would ever see someone that soulless. You don't need the wheelchair. What the hell is with her? I mean, she doesn't know this guy, and she doesn't know what he has. She doesn't know anything about him, and it's none of her business, to be honest. Wheelchairs, crutches, walkers, they're not toys. They're used to help people get around. And I'm glad this woman got arrested and charged with assault, because she needs to be in jail, away from other people. She's definitely a menace. Anyway, on to our next story. If you're enjoying my content so far, please put some heart emojis in the comment section below. Our next story is by Snowy Wolf 79. Apparently, when it floods, private land becomes public property. So this happened last year. We haven't had any other incidents with this gentleman or anyone since then. My dad and I were out turkey hunting last spring. We had horrible weather last spring, which included flooding, and it was bad. We live on top of a hill, but own the lower field and the surrounding woods. That's usually where we hunt. Our land sits right next to a river. On one side, there's a public parking lot, and on the other is the entrance to our field. There are 5 signs up saying no parking, private entrance, but there's a sandbar on the other side. There's a path on the public side to go under a bridge and get to the sandbar. Onto the story. It was mid-afternoon and we were finishing up and were about to head out to the field. We didn't call any turkeys. It was disappointing. As we were coming out of the woods, we spotted a man and a child going around the gate to our field, walk into our field a ways, then veer off into the bushes to get to the sandbar. We would have been okay if he had gotten onto the sandbar without crossing past the gate, but that's not what he did. My dad and I went to go talk to him. Since I was the only one hunting that day, I took out the clip of my gun and unloaded the chamber. The safety was already engaged, but I double-checked. In no way did I endanger this child or man by swinging my gun around or threatening him. I very well would have lost my license if I did. I stood back and let my dad take the lead. The trespasser, ED, innocent kid, IK. The child was mostly playing on the sandbar, and we weren't about to disturb her. My dad went up to the entitled dad and exchanged greetings and pleasantries before explaining we owned the land that he just crossed to get to the sandbar. He told the man that while he was welcome to stay for the day since he and innocent kid were already there, he couldn't cross our land if he came back another day. We'd had a lot of issues with trespassers in the past and just couldn't allow anyone past the gate. Entitled dad told my dad due to the flooding, the pathway from the public side was underwater. My dad told him that wasn't his problem. If he couldn't reach the sandbar on the public land, then he couldn't reach it. This is where the entitlement occurred. The entitled dad told my dad that while that was fine and dandy, he wanted my dad to know the law before we parted ways. The entitled dad explained to my dad, in the event of flooding, our field and bushes, surrounding fields, become public property so that people can get to the sandbar. Y'all, I barely kept a straight face. Entitled dad again said that he just wanted my dad to know the law. My dad told the entitled dad that as a police officer for the last 30 years, he knows the law. I've never seen anyone go so pale so quickly before, but my dad was patient enough to explain to the man that private land was still private in the events of flooding. We left when we got home and we looked up the entitled dad in the court system and revoked his driver's license. We had a good laugh about it. Edit for information. There is a way to get to the sandbar without going past the gate. There's a little more brush, but it's definitely doable and visible. We would not have glanced twice at the man if he had done that, but he went past the gate that had a clear no trespassing sign, and that was the part that we took issue with. On to our final story. Our final story today is by Dark Angles Are Acute. No, I will not change your son's grade. Apologies in advance for being on mobile and having a long post. I couldn't pass up my favorite entitled parent story from my short career teaching. I was a computing technology teacher at a private school. The cast. Me, ED, entitled dad of student and volunteer coach. FK, student, football kid. MP, new principal. Football kid was taking my mandatory keyboarding class. This class was simple. We had one practice day, one test day, and one keyboard game day every other week. Grades were posted to the online portal at least weekly. Football kid was not the least interested in keyboarding. I get it. It's not a sexy class. He would just sit there through the practice, through the test day, spacing out. After several weeks of warning football kid that he was failing my class, offering makeup sessions, and not getting anywhere, I just entered whatever grade he earned into the grade book. The first 9 weeks go through, and he earns a D for my class. This, by school policy, makes him ineligible for playing sports. About 2 weeks after report cards go out and football session is about to start, entitled dad huffs into my classroom as I'm cleaning up for the day. This was many years ago, so some liberties are taken in the recount. Entitled dad, I found out that football kid got a D in your class. How could you let him fail? I only became a coach so that I could be my son's coach this year. How could you let this happen? Me. Well, entitled dad, I have tried to work with football kid many times and warned him of his grade. And despite me offering help, unfortunately, he earned a D last quarter. I've been posting his grades to the portal. Did you have a chance to review this? Entitled dad, I'm only here to coach my son. You need to change his grade so that he can play football. Me. Sir, the only thing I can offer is that we work with football kid this quarter to ensure that he's doing the work to earn a better grade. I will also let him replace his lower grade with a makeup session, per my class's policy. Additional back and forth between us. That is generally the same. He wants me to change the grade, I refuse. Entitled dad, but he needs to play this quarter. I'm done with this. We're going to talk to Mr. New Principal. Me. Okay. We'll walk together to new principal's office. New principal is very well-meaning. However, the school was struggling financially, and I think he felt pressured to cater to parents as to not lose any incoming tuition. Entitled dad, new principal, OP has failed football kid, and I can't coach him this semester. I demand that you do something about this. You need to do something. New principal, OP, what happened here? I tell him the story. Entitled dad, I don't care if he got a D. I want him to play football. New principal, OP, do you think there's anything we can do about this? Me, as I've told entitled dad, football kid can work this quarter to raise his grade for eligibility for next quarter. That's the best I can do. Entitled dad, unacceptable. You need to do something. New principal, I should pull football kid out of the school. Just change his grade or we're gone. New principal, OP, can we make this work? I became enraged. I'm trying hard to keep my cool, but this tipped me over the edge. How any educator or principal could ask me to forge a record to appease an angry parent is beyond me. Me. Absolutely not. Football kid earned his grade this quarter. If I change his grade, I'm doing a disservice to football kid. And instead of teaching him to work, I'm teaching him that he can do whatever he wants because of football. He can pull his grades up by doing the work. It's as simple as that. If you disagree, that's fine, but these are the same policies for every student. I'm sorry you're not satisfied, but it's important to check the portal often for new class assignments and homework and grades. I look forward to seeing football kid in my next makeup session. I walked out. I guess there was an additional back and forth between entitled dad and new principal, but ultimately the administration backed up my decision. Football kid worked through the next quarter, attended makeup sessions and earned a qualifying grade, and happily played football with his dad as coach the following quarter. He was a decent student through the rest of the time. Too long, didn't read. Kid nearly fails the easiest class possible. Coach dad demands the principal make me change his grade so that his kid could play football, and I refuse. The kid goes on to make up his grade and was a decent student thereafter. OP's right. Giving this kid a grade that he doesn't deserve and he didn't earn is doing him no favors, and it basically just teaches him that he could just skate and just cheat his way along to get what he wants. I'm glad that OP stuck by their guns and made the kid pull up his grades instead of just giving in to the entitled parents' demands. Anyway, that's all the stories I have today. Please stop on by Reddit to show the OP some love and an upvote. Links to the original stories will be in the description box below. If you enjoy my content, please like and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to hit the bell notification to let you know when I've uploaded new content. Thank you for watching and have a great day.